You never expect your life to fall apart mid-toast. But that's exactly how it happened. It was a warm spring night, the kind where Jersey City feels more like a movie set than real life. The rooftop of the Riverside Hotel had that faint hum of money and celebration. Lights strung overhead glowed amber, casting halos on the faces of people I'd known for decades. The clinking of cutlery, distant laughter, the smell of grilled scallops and citrus candles. Everything was perfect. Picture perfect. We were celebrating 20 years of marriage. 2 decades of us. Olivia wore this deep blue satin dress. Simple, elegant. The kind that reminded me why I fell in love with her in the first place. And tonight she was radiant. She moved through the rooftop like it was her kingdom. Her arm laced through mine. Her hand soft. Her perfume. Lavender and something else I couldn't quite place. Our daughter Chloe had flown in from Boston just for the night. My brother toasted us earlier. Olivia's sister was on her 3rd glass of wine. Everyone seemed genuinely happy for us. And me? I was proud, grateful, maybe even naive. I tapped my glass and cleared my throat. 20 years, I said, my voice carrying just enough over the crowd. That's a long time to do anything, let alone stay married. A few chuckles. Olivia squeezed my arm. We've raised a daughter, I continued, built a business, survived 2 recessions and a pandemic. More laughter. Chloe grinned, her phone already raised to take a picture. But the thing I'm most proud of, I glanced at Olivia. She smiled at me, that easy, well-practiced smile, is that I still get to wake up every morning next to the smartest, most beautiful woman I know. A round of applause, glasses raised, and that's when it happened. A soft ding from the AV system, then a flicker on the giant screen behind us, where photos from our past were playing in a slideshow. Wedding *TS, Chloe as a baby, vacations, office parties. The image that popped up next wasn't from any family album. It was Olivia, standing in the lobby of the very same hotel, wearing the same dress, and she wasn't alone. She was kissing someone, a man I didn't recognize. His hand rested on her lower back. Her face was tilted up toward his. It wasn't a staged kiss. It was close int * mate. Real. A ripple went through the room. Someone gasped. A fork clattered to the floor. Wait, Chloe said, her eyes wide. Mom! The room fell silent. All I could hear was the soft hum of the rooftop heaters and my own pulse hammering in my ears. I stared at the screen. My brain locked. No, this couldn't be. But there she was, clear as day. The timestamp in the corner read 7:43 p.m. I looked at my watch. It was 8:51, less than an hour ago, and she was right next to me. It was like watching a slow explosion, where everything stays eerily quiet, and then suddenly the air rushes out of the room. Olivia blinked, just once, then stepped forward like she was walking onto a stage. Oh, she said, and let out a light, almost amused laugh. That's so awkward. No one laughed. She turned toward me, hand still loosely gripping her wine glass. Daniel, I swear, that was for the promo shoot, for the children's wellness fundraiser. I said nothing. She looked out at the crowd. That guy? He's an actor. We were filming earlier downstairs. I think the AV guy must have accidentally synced the wrong file. We did like 5 takes, and that one, it wasn't even the one they kept. Still, no one said a word. Someone coughed. Her sister looked down at her plate. Chloe was frozen. Olivia kept talking, the way she always did when things were slipping, just fast enough to stay ahead of the truth. It's not what it looks like. Seriously. She gave a quick laugh. I had to reshoot the whole scene because of the lighting. And the kiss wasn't real. It's just framing. You know how these things go. It was supposed to be deleted anyway. I turned slowly toward her. That happened tonight? Yes, she said quickly. Like right before we came up here. I was going to tell you, but it was such a mess, and we were already running late, and I didn't want to ruin the mood. Did the AV guy upload it? I asked. My voice didn't even sound like my own. She paused. I'm not sure. Maybe it auto-synced from my phone? I didn't even think. She trailed off. Everyone was still watching us. No one touched their food. Can you delete it, please? She asked the AV technician, a young guy in his 20s who looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. He nodded and fumbled with the iPad. The image disappeared, but it was too late. The moment had already fractured. The illusion shattered. The crowd slowly returned to their seats. A few tried to restart conversations. Someone poured more wine. Chloe leaned toward Olivia and whispered something. Olivia shook her head quickly, whispered back. Me? I stayed standing. I looked out over the skyline, over the glow of the Freedom Tower and the glimmering water, and tried to convince myself I was imagining it. But I wasn't. I'd seen her face. Not just in the photo, but right after, that split second before she spoke, where panic cracked through her eyes like lightning. She wasn't confused. She wasn't caught off guard. She was calculating. And that told me everything. I didn't confront her. Not there. Not yet. Instead, I started piecing things together. All the little moments I'd dismissed. The late yoga classes. The weird hotel receipts she couldn't explain. The time I found a second phone charger in her car. And she told me it was for Chloe, even though Chloe hadn't been in the car in months. My mind turned into a storm. I barely tasted the rest of the meal. Olivia tried to act like nothing happened, chatting with her friends, smiling for photos. She'd spent years mastering the art of appearing untouched. But I wasn't looking at appearances anymore. I was watching every move, every twitch, every hesitation, because deep down I already knew something was wrong. And whatever it wasn't new. It had been there, hiding, lurking beneath the surface like rot behind a fresh coat of paint. That photo wasn't the beginning. It was the first crack in the glass. And I wasn't going to let it shatter quietly. That night after the rooftop dinner, Olivia fell asleep in our bed like nothing happened, or pretended to. She turned away from me, tucked herself under the duvet, and offered a half-hearted good night, like it wasn't still echoing in both our heads. That photo, frozen in time, burned into my mind. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, running the image on a loop. Every detail, the angle of her body, her hand on the man's chest, the familiarity in that pose. And suddenly, everything that hadn't made sense over the last few months began to take shape. They say hindsight is 20/20ths. But this felt like a damn IMAX screening of everything I'd missed. First, the yoga classes. Back in January, Olivia suddenly got really into yoga. Not online classes or local studios like she used to, but private sessions twice a week. Always on Tuesdays and Thursdays, always at odd times. She claimed it was in Battery Park at some boutique wellness retreat. I remember even joking, "You better not be paying Manhattan rent just to stretch." She smiled and kissed me on the cheek and said, "It's worth every cent." Now I wasn't so sure what she meant by that. One night, I checked her calendar to see when we could plan a long weekend away. That's when I noticed the addresses. They weren't yoga studios. They were serviced apartments. I Googled one of them, a luxury building with short-term rentals. And every time I brought up visiting her at one of these classes, she had an excuse. The instructor didn't like drop-ins. The space was too small. It would mess up her focus. Then there were the industry conferences she started attending. I'd always been proud of her professional hustle, especially since she took on the foundation work full-time. But when I asked where these events were being held, the names never matched anything on the public calendars. Once, I looked up a supposed symposium in Soho. It didn't exist. "Oh, it was invite only," she said when I asked. "Closed door. Off record." That was the first time I felt a real chill down my spine. I chalked it up to paranoia, told myself I was overthinking. Then came the spare phone. One morning in March, I was grabbing her keys from her gym bag when I felt something at the bottom. A phone. Not her usual one. A smaller model, no case, screen locked. I asked her about it. "Oh, it's just a backup," she said, brushing past me. "For travel. Old work phone." Funny thing, though, the wallpaper was updated, and the battery was charged. I didn't push. I should have. Then there were the hotel charges. Every so often, I'd see a line item on the joint card, boutique hotels downtown. Always weekdays, always one-night stays. I confronted her once. "Oh, that's for board meetings," she said. "They're more productive when we stay overnight and don't commute." Board meetings? For a nonprofit that met once a quarter? Then came the smartwatch notification. This one haunted me. One night we were brushing our teeth side by side, and her smartwatch buzzed. It lit up with a message before she tapped it away. I only caught a glimpse, one line. "Perfect night. Red heart sleep quality. 100%. But it wasn't her watch. It was paired with someone else's device. A different name on the top, initials I didn't recognize. I asked, "Who's that?" And she laughed. "Oh, that's my trainer's demo app. Trainer, right?" I should have pressed harder. Her phone was always face down after that. Always on silent. There was one dinner at an oyster bar near the waterfront, where she took 2 ladies' room breaks during the meal. 20 minutes each. I thought she was sick. She came back flushed, flustered, still chewing gum. Then she asked me if we could try spending more time apart to strengthen our independence. Another memory clawed its way up. In early April, she started buying lingerie. I wasn't supposed to notice, but I did. Tags I found in the trash. Delivery boxes with brand names I didn't recognize. But she never wore any of it with me. And I noticed something else. Sudden late-night errands. Sometimes she'd say, "I need to clear my head. Going for a drive." Once it was, "The foundation needs someone to drop off documents by hand." Always vague. Never a destination. No receipts. No proof. One night I watched her leave and checked Find My iPhone. Her location was off. That was new. I started checking the home Wi-Fi logs. Every now and then, an unfamiliar device would show up. Ellis iPhone. M.E. watch. Then gone. She said it was probably Chloe's old tablet connecting remotely. But Chloe had been in Boston for weeks. Uber history showed random trips downtown at odd hours. Sometimes 6 a.m. Sometimes close to midnight. I once saw a drop-off near the financial district, not near the foundation's office. "Donor meeting," she said. Everything had a name, a cover story. But the more I thought about it, the more they all sounded like the same story. Rehearsed, rinsed, repeated. She was never careless. But she was starting to get comfortable. And that comfort became cracks. The final straw, the moment I knew I wasn't imagining this, came a few weeks before our anniversary dinner. She came home late, said she was with the board again. As she walked into the kitchen, I noticed a faint mark on her shoulder, lipstick. Not her shade. Not any shade I'd ever seen her wear. "Lip gloss accident," she said. "We hugged goodbye. I didn't ask who. I didn't want to hear the lie. But that night, while she was in the shower, I checked her purse. Not proud of it, but I had to know. Inside was a hotel card key for a place in Tribeca. Still warm. Room number 1903 scribbled on the sleeve. When she came out of the bathroom, I was sitting on the bed. "You okay?" she asked, towel around her shoulders. I nodded. "Yeah, just tired." I didn't mention the key. I didn't confront her. Not yet, because I wasn't looking for a fight. I was building a case. The rooftop photo was the crack. The oddities were the map. But that night, the night I followed her, that was when everything shattered. She told me she was going to bed early. We'd been back from the anniversary dinner for barely an hour. I was in the den, pretending to read emails, sipping lukewarm coffee and still hearing echoes of the rooftop silence. Olivia walked past in her robe, hair tied back, no makeup, and gave me a soft, "I'm exhausted. Going to sleep, babe." "Okay," I said, not looking up. But 5 minutes later, the front door clicked. I waited by the window. She didn't take the elevator. She slipped out the back staircase. And right there, the act was over. I grabbed my keys, took a breath, and followed. Not on foot. That would have been obvious. I had already placed an AirTag on her spare key holder weeks ago. One of those little trackers I bought under the guise of keeping track of my own forgetfulness. She never noticed. I checked the app. Her location was moving fast, heading east. A few blocks away, she stopped. I refreshed the map. She was at the curb, getting into a vehicle. I drove behind, slowly, lights off. I didn't tail her too close. I wasn't stupid, but I didn't need to. The app gave me every turn, every pause at red lights. She ended up at a mid-rise in the financial district. Not a residence, not a hotel, but one of those hybrid extended stay places. The kind of building you'd use if you wanted a familiar bed without too many questions. I parked across the street, watched her step out of the gray Tesla that picked her up. The driver didn't leave, he was the same man from the photo. Olivia reached back into the car, leaned in, kissed him. Again. Same body language. Same casual *** Macy. Like this was normal. Routine. She laughed at something he said, tucked her hair behind her ear, and walked inside. He followed. I stayed in the car. My chest burned, but my hands were steady. The doorman buzzed them in. I waited 5 minutes, then crossed the street. The entrance had 2 security cameras. I made a mental note of their angles. A cab pulled up. I used the distraction to slip into the lobby. Empty. I stood near the elevators, pretending to check my phone. Then the elevator dinged. They were in it, Olivia and the man, standing side by side, not hiding. He reached for her hand, and she gave it. Just like that. No hesitation. I stepped aside before the doors fully opened. They didn't see me, or maybe they didn't care. The screen above the elevator ticked up. 4, 5, 6, all the way to 19. Room 1903. I waited. Didn't follow. I needed more than a confrontation. I needed proof. The next morning, while she was still sleeping or pretending to be, I checked her phone while it was charging in the bathroom. Face ID didn't work, but the notifications did. One message caught my eye, a pin chat. Initials M.E. No full name. Just a conversation title. Can't wait. 9:45. Same place. 1903. She hadn't even deleted it. The man from the Tesla. The same one from the rooftop photo. The same one who picked her up last night. The same one who apparently had a permanent room. Ellis. I ***Ted everything. Forwarded the photos, the map location, the chat thread, to my encrypted cloud drive. The floodgates opened. Suddenly, all the yoga sessions, the fake meetings, the hotel keys, the backup phone, the unfamiliar Wi-Fi devices, it all locked into place. But I wasn't done. I needed the full picture. Names, patterns, intentions. So I called someone I never thought I'd need again, Ryan Cole. A former logistics investigator I'd worked with when a client tried to move contraband through one of our warehouses. Smart guy, ex-military, detail-obsessed. He picked up on the second ring. Daniel, he said, didn't expect to hear from you. You still in the logistics game? I paused. Yeah, and I've got a personal shipment that's gone way off manifest. He got it instantly. Say no more. You want eyes, ears, digital or physical? All of it, I said. Quiet. No leaks. No assumptions. We met later that week in a coffee shop out in Jersey. Far from the city, far from Olivia's radar. I laid it all out, the photos, the logs, the location tags. Ryan didn't react much, but I could see the mental gears turning. I'll bug the house, he said, and tail her, but you need to be sure you're ready for what we find. Some people think they want the truth until they see it. I don't want revenge, I told him. I want certainty. Same thing sometimes. The next few days were agony. Ryan installed 3 audio devices, one under her nightstand, one in the vent near the kitchen, and one hidden in a decorative candle in her office. He also gave me access to a cloud drive that synced every recording in real time. What I heard nearly broke me. Every morning after I left, she called him. Mark Ellis. The same name from the chat thread. They talked in soft tones, never mentioned full names, but the content was clear. You'll have a window Friday, she said in one recording. He usually goes to bed around 11:30. I'll meet you after. Bring the pills? He asked. I've got them. Same bottle, different caps. My blood went cold. Pills? What pills? I checked the medicine cabinet. Melatonin gummies. Normal brand. We both took them. But I opened the jar and sniffed. Something was off. They didn't smell right. Not herbal. More chemical. I sent a few to a lab Ryan recommended. The results? Not melatonin. Prescription sedatives. Heavy-duty stuff. Enough to keep someone undisturbed, for hours. That's when everything turned. This wasn't just about cheating. This was control, strategy, subversion. Ryan started digging into Ellis. Financials, work history, digital presence. The guy didn't just have a thing for married women. He had a trail. 2 previous women, both married, both clients of a boutique financial consultancy he worked with. In both cases, their husbands died within 6 months of the affairs becoming public. One was ruled an overdose. One, a car accident, brake line failure. But here's the part that sent shivers down my spine. Both men had recently updated their wills. Both had transferred partial financial authority to their wives. Both cases had uninvestigated anomalies. When I showed Olivia's recent tax documents, the ones she said were for the foundation, to Ryan, he scanned them and raised an eyebrow. These aren't for charity, he said. These are for asset movement. I checked the firm. Ellis worked there. Under a different name. Same face. Different initials. Same game. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a setup. And I was the next mark. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't stop at heartbreak. If you're not careful, it turns into erosion of trust, of memory, of your own sense of reality. After the lab confirmed the pills were sedatives, not melatonin, I stopped thinking like a husband and started thinking like a target. Because that's what I was now. A mark. And Mark Ellis? He wasn't just some smooth-talking side piece. He was a predator. Ryan kept the pressure low and steady. He started digging deeper into Ellis's background while I played the part of the clueless, overworked husband. I made sure Olivia saw me tired, distracted, forgiving. I let her believe I'd bought the rooftop explanation, let her think I was retreating into work and sleep. I stopped taking the gummies altogether and quietly switched them with identical-looking vitamins. But I left her bottle untouched, just in case she was still dosing me, expecting me to be out cold. I reviewed Ryan's nightly recordings in the morning before Olivia woke up. The audio was horrifyingly calm. Their voices never raised, never frantic. They were planning around me like I was some passive obstacle, not a person. A schedule. "This Thursday's better," Olivia whispered one night. "He's got that investor dinner. Won't be home till late. If I get him to take the full dose, we have 6 hours." "Long enough," Ellis replied. "Have you updated the docs?" "Almost done," she said. "The transfer to the Shell account is pending approval, but I masked the name. It's listed as a grant payout from the Langford Initiative." Langford. That was our daughter's middle name. She used Chloe's name to hide asset movements. I don't remember when I stopped breathing during that playback. I had to replay it 3 times to convince myself I wasn't hallucinating. They were trying to clean me out. And if the pattern held, if Ellis's last 2 relationships were any indicator, this wouldn't stop at money. Ryan confirmed what I feared. Both previous husbands had accidents shortly after being removed from corporate control and signing updated estate documents. Both had wives who'd quietly transferred key assets to Ellis's firm weeks before the deaths. Same firm, same process, same timeline. We were right on schedule. I wasn't paranoid anymore. I was late to my own execution. I immediately locked down every digital touchpoint I could. I called my CTO at the logistics firm and scheduled a full audit. Told him it was internal restructuring, but gave him 3 key directives. Revoke Olivia's access, freeze all pending financial transfers she had queued in our internal dashboard, and create a new layer of encryption around sensitive board documents. One even I didn't have access to without 2-person verification. He didn't ask questions, just nodded. I also called my estate lawyer and made quiet amendments. No digital trail, paper only, delivered by hand. Olivia's name was removed from all posthumous controls. The clause was buried deep, just in case. I replaced the locks at the office and had security disable her badge access. She wouldn't find out right away. I gave her a dummy profile in the system that showed everything working as normal, while the real backend revoked it. Ryan, meanwhile, kept digging into Ellis's finances. The man was liquidating. Over the past 4 weeks, he'd quietly emptied 3 brokerage accounts, sold off a New Hampshire property, and shut down a Delaware shell company, one that had been receiving monthly deposits from a familiar routing number, our family trust. Ryan confronted me with it like a doctor delivering a grim diagnosis. "He's preparing to vanish," he said. "This guy's run the same play 3 times, and I think he's nearing the final move." Final move meaning? "Your accident." I don't remember what I said in response. I only remember the way the air left the room. That night, I installed a K*LL switch. Not literally, not explosives or anything cinematic like that. Just a digital trigger. I created a folder, encrypted and scattered across 6 servers, titled "In the Event of Daniel's Death." Inside it was everything: footage, receipts, pill analysis, GPS logs, Ellis's financial trails, Olivia's recorded calls, backup cloud syncs, annotated transcripts. I gave Ryan the switch. "If anything happens to me," I told him, "this goes out automatically. Press 1 button, it hits the police, the SEC, 3 national news outlets, and our board of directors." He looked at me for a long time. "You're expecting something soon?" "I'm expecting her to feel boxed in, and him to get sloppy." He nodded. "Then it's time to move." We planned the exposure carefully. No drama, no fights, no chance for them to twist the narrative. The cover story? A dinner to celebrate Chloe finishing her first year at college. I texted Olivia, her sister, her parents, and Chloe. Told them we'd do something simple at the house. Family only. She agreed immediately. Said it would be perfectly low-key. Ryan had already hardwired the house with hidden cameras. Not the cheap plugins, but the military-grade kind. Fiber optic, motion-triggered, encrypted. That Friday, they all showed up. Chloe looked tired but cheerful. Olivia was in a soft gray sweater, hair tied back, acting like everything was perfectly normal. She even kissed me on the cheek and brought my favorite wine. I played along. I smiled. I laughed when I needed to. And when dinner wrapped, I stood up and said, "There's something I want to show you all." Olivia froze. I turned on the TV. Footage played. Olivia in the lobby of that apart hotel. Olivia kissing Ellis. Olivia entering room 1903. Time-stamped. Labeled. Another video, her voice through the kitchen vent. "He'll be out cold by midnight." Then the lab report blown up onto the screen, showing the chemical breakdown of the pills in the melatonin jar. Chloe gasped. Olivia's sister dropped her fork. I turned to Olivia, who hadn't moved. Her wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. I pulled a folder from under the table. Thick, heavy, legal. "These are divorce papers," I said, placing them in front of her. "Per the prenup, you're entitled to nothing except what's explicitly named. You've also been removed from the company. This was ratified yesterday by board vote." She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. "You'll also find documentation assigning full custody of Chloe to me, with safeguards around her trust. Your access to all funds, joint, discretionary, offshore, has been revoked." Her face shifted, from denial to anger to something that looked a lot like panic. I placed a final paper on top. "This is a sworn affidavit tied to a dead man's switch. If anything happens to me, even an accident, the contents of that folder go public." Immediately, Chloe looked at me, her face pale. "Dad, is this real?" I nodded. "All of it." Olivia looked down, then at me, and for the first time in years, she had no words. For a long time after I placed the folder in front of her, Olivia just stared at it. Not blinking, not moving. The glass of wine in her hand trembled slightly, and for a second, I wondered if she'd speak. Offer another carefully rehearsed excuse, some half-step away from the truth. But nothing came. She looked up at me once, then Chloe, and then she said the first honest thing I'd heard in months. "You planned this." I didn't respond, because yes, I had. Every word, every step, every receipt, every camera. And not out of vengeance. Out of survival. My voice was even. This is the cleanest version of what this could have been. Believe it or not, I'm protecting you. She scoffed, but it was hollow. She knew she was boxed in. I turned to Chloe, whose face was pale and unreadable. I didn't want you to find out this way, I said softly. But I couldn't keep lying. And I couldn't risk you being caught in the middle of something dangerous. Olivia spoke suddenly, her voice sharp. Dangerous. I turned back to her. Mark Ellis isn't who you think he is. She laughed. Or tried to. Don't start with conspiracy theories. I slid my phone across the table. On screen was a paused video, Ryan's compilation. A tight edit of Ellis's last 2 affairs, both ending in mysterious deaths. Voice clips, time logs, financial transfers. And then, Olivia's own voice saying, "He'll be out cold by midnight." I pressed play. The room went silent again. Chloe looked like she was about to be sick. Olivia reached for the phone, tried to swipe it away. I stopped her hand. Don't, I said. You've lied enough. Olivia's sister, who had always been neutral, maybe even slightly on Olivia's side, pushed her chair back and stood, stunned. Jesus! Liv! I turned the TV off. Here's what's happening next. I handed Olivia a pen and pointed to the signature lines. You're signing over your exit. This means no contest. You leave the firm, the house, the joint accounts. You lose control of all family trusts and investments. You get a one-time disbursement, small but legal. And if I don't? She asked. I leaned in slightly. Then the videos go to the SEC, the police, our banks, my board, and Chloe's university. Not just the affair, everything. The pills, the offshore accounts, Mark Ellis's real identity. She swallowed. Hard. I have nothing to hide, she said. I tilted my head. Then why were you deleting call logs yesterday at 3 a.m.? Why did your secure folder just vanish from the Foundation server? Her face changed again, this time into something I couldn't fully read. You were watching me? For weeks, I said. The room was quiet except for the sound of the clock ticking in the hallway. Then Chloe stood. She didn't yell.